Hello everyone, my name is Darkmoondoll and this is Cannabis and Movies. Cannabis and Movies was created by me because I am a medical cannabis patient living in California. I decided I wanted to analyze these movies in Hollywood that portray cannabis partakers as lazy slackers and no good criminals. So I take and utilize cannabis for many things in my life. If you want to read or learn more, watch more about why I partake in this miraculous herb, you can go to my blog where I write about it. It's theproductivecannabisconnoisseur.blogspot.com. I also have a channel with the same name, a YouTube channel, so you can go there too, where I share more further in detail about all the reasons why I partake of cannabis. So, on today's show, the movie review I'm going to do is Scary Movie 5. I wrote tons of notes, so if you see me looking down and hear papers shuffling, that's what that's about. This movie had so much going on in it. Craziness, crazy randomness, and lots of detail. And I think the lots of detail is to make up for the lack of a quality story. You know what I mean? So before we get into this this review, I want to light up a joint that I rolled. I rolled 2 joints. I'll probably only smoke 1. Because I don't think this review is going to go that long, even though I've got tons of notes on it. It's funny, you know, sitting there taking notes while I'm watching a movie. But, yeah, there's a lot of things I have observed in this movie, so... Sorry, I'm talking fast. Time to slow down. Alrighty, cheers to everyone that's out there who is a patient or who's, you know, I don't know, if not a patient, and wanting to have equality and justice for all who want to have this beautiful herb. Cheers. So if you haven't seen any of my other videos, at this point, the cannabis that I'm using is like the crumbs, the bottom of the barrel, the trim, or whatever you want to call it. I'm running low, but I've got tons of that kind of stuff and some really, I guess you could say a little bit potent leaves, so I'm getting by. And I roll it up in a joint, and it's doing the job. It's not blow you away, fresh bud, you know, feeling, but it's pretty intense and strong in its own way. So I'm just going to talk about this movie whilst I smoke my joint, and I hope you guys are joining me too. I got my ashtray here. Okay, so this movie, Scary Movie 5, if you haven't seen any of the other scary movies, you can watch them, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, it does make sense if you watch Scary Movie 4 before 5, but either way, it's just a whole big mess anyway. So, this movie was made in, what's the date? When was it made? 2000 and when? I don't even think I put down when it was made. Who gives a shit, really, because it was a piece of crap. It only got 1.5 stars on Netflix. I watched it way back when it came out. Not right when it came out, but when it ended up getting onto cable, when I had cable. I don't have cable anymore. I just have Netflix and YouTube, and that's it. Cable became too expensive for me. So, and a lot of times with cable, they didn't really have the stuff that I really liked. You know, quality view. I don't know what my opinion of what quality viewing is. So anyway, let me put this joint down. So yeah, it has Charlie Sheen, it has Lindsay Lohan, it has Ashley Tisdale, who else is in there? Katt Williams. All these stars being like splashed in here. Molly Shannon, you know her from Saturday Night Live, is in there. Yeah, so the movie starts off where Lindsay Lohan and Charlie Sheen are shown going into Charlie Sheen's bedroom, and they're just playing themselves. You know, they don't have any like character name. That's just them, Lindsay and Charlie Sheen. So anyway, it's just like, it was stupid. There's cameras all over the place, videotaping them, getting ready to videotape them, all over underneath the bed and everything, and you know, it's just over exaggerating the fact that those two Hollywood stars were always in the paparazzi's eyes and the slander and all this bullshit. So yeah, they just want to make a joke out of that. Haha, isn't that funny, guys? So then, what comes next? They're doing whatever they're doing, you know, they're doing their sexual activity, getting silly with it, making it look like it's acrobatics and stuff. And then here comes 2 or 3 little people jump in the bed too. It's like, oh my god. I mean, and I wonder if for those little people, is that degrading or what to you? You know, be in this kind of movie. So anyway, yeah, and then there's this guy that's narrating the whole movie, and he sounds like Morgan Freeman. But, I mean, when I looked at the credits, because a lot of times I like to look at the credits when a movie's over, just to see if there's anybody in there that, you know, I didn't notice at first. But yeah, it sounds like Morgan Freeman, and I didn't see his name in the credits at all. I mean, that's a funny part of it. And then, like, the next part, it's like Snoop Dogg, and he has his white stoner friend. They're walking, you know, supposedly they're in Humboldt County, and it's at nighttime, and they're walking through the woods, and I guess Snoop Dogg knows of this place where there's a grow there, and so he said, no, the white stoner, I just call him the white stoner, because that's what they're trying to do, personify the stereotypical white stoner. So he looks at Snoop Dogg and says, do you think they'll notice if we take anything? And then Snoop Dogg's, oh, we're just going to take a little bit. So they go in there, and then all of a sudden you hear these police sirens, and they have this huge, gigantic joint rolled, and they're like heaving it out and running out of there. It's just stupid. Yeah, it's crazy. And so then the next thing you know, they're at the cabin. They're at some cabin. They wander through the woods, and then they end up at a cabin. And they're like, hey, the white stoners all, this reminds me of this one movie. He's all, what movie? The Cabin in the Woods movie. What movie? So they just keep making references to movies throughout this movie. Stupid and redundant. So then, yeah, I'm not going to go through every single detail, but just the main key points. They find these 2 girls and a little baby there, and they're like, one of them's face is all dirty and stuff, and the white stoner goes to Snoop Dogg. He goes, hey, those kids are racist. And he's all, what do you mean? And he looks at him, look, they're in blackface. And the kids just looked dirty. Their faces were dirty, like they'd never been washed or cleaned or anything like that, taking a shower or whatever. So, I mean, that was really, oh my god. These movies are just, why do they do this shit? Yeah, it's silly. And then Ashley Tisdale's character, her name is Jody, and they show her, the next thing they show her on the toilet, she has some sort of cell phone thing, where it's like it looks like some futuristic pregnancy test where you piss on the cell phone and it determines whether you're pregnant or not. It's just like silly. And while she gets up and finds out she's not pregnant, and the cell phone pregnancy test thing, you know, responds to her with the voice of Siri. So anyway, and she's like kind of bent over, and as she's to get the phone or whatever, and as she's getting up, someone opens the door, and it's her boyfriend Dan, who's related to Charlie Sheen, because that's Charlie Sheen's brother, and knocks her into the toilet. Her face goes flat into the toilet and gets toilet water all over her face. What's the significance of that? Yeah, it's disgusting. So yeah, so the next scene, Ashley Tisdale, which is played her character Jody, and Dan, I don't remember that actor's name. They end up going to this thing called, what is it? Institute for Case Studies. It just, oh my God. They're going in there and they're trying to, there's a psychologist that comes out and he's talking to them about how the kids are fragile or whatever, you know, you got to be really careful and all this kind of stuff. And then as they pause in the hallway as they're talking about the children, Dan pulls up the blinds. It looks like it's a window that they're looking at. Opens the window up, and what do you see? You see two women in a shower bathing together, suzzing each other up in bikinis. And then the psychologist quickly pulls the blinds down and says, no, that's the wrong window. Holly weird again. So, I mean, it's just insane. I don't even know if I even want to continue reading about this movie. I mean, Medea shows up in there. There's a sequence where Jody ends up trying out for ballet for Swan Lake, and it turns into like that one Swan movie that came out a while ago that had Natalie Portman in it. They just keep, as I said, they keep making references to the other movies, to make fun of other movies. And then they showed a performance of Heather Locklear performing Swan Lake, pregnant with stretch marks all over her belly, and it was just, oh my God. And then the cue to the audience, and in the audience Medea is there, and Angie Stone, and a lot of people know who Angie Stone is, of course. And Medea, of course, there's a white guy, older white man, sitting behind Medea, and he shushes her, goes, shh, and she's all, what did she say? She said something really crazy. Something about she'll punch him in the neck if he doesn't, don't shush me, if you shush me again, I'll punch you in the neck, and Tyler Perry. It's just annoying. I'll just put it that way. I'm not going to go on and on about him, because that's a whole show in itself. And everybody's already covered that guy anyway. You know, you can look up his name and find out whatever it is you want to find out about him. I don't want to go into that in this review, but he's annoying to me. So yeah, and they were just relying on movies that were previously made. Like they had an Inception incident in there. It's crazy. And for some reason, the guy that played Leonardo DiCaprio's role, somehow he had breasts, you know, and he's filling his breasts. That's just, it's it's an all-time low. I know this is from a little bit ways back, and it's not like totally current, but it just shows you how things are how movies are slowly diving down, like really deep into like just nastiness and stupidity. Like that movie, if you ever haven't seen it, I think it's called Idiocracy, I believe, where it just kind of shows how us humans are just turning into zombies, where we'll watch just anything and laugh at anything, even if it's disgusting and putrid, we'll still laugh at it. And then just showed how the evolution of how we slowly degenerated and turned into these just nasty, soulless fools, you know. It's pretty good. Yeah, that's what this movie makes me think of. It just makes me think of how society is just willing to accept anything. In this movie, when they adopted those kids and they had the house had like video cameras everywhere. And so it's like everything was being videotaped. They had a Mexican, it was a stereotypical Mexican maid, and her name was Maria. And they made her like, she had really, really hairy arms, and they emphasized the fact that she was a heavyset woman. They made her just really weird and eccentric. Like, had her like sleeping with the vacuum cleaner, dancing in her sleep. Like, it was just insane. And then she was extremely religious. She put like a crucifix and rosary beads on the baby, you know, saying the house was cursed. They had a psychic come in, Katt, played by Katt Williams. His name was Blaine. Like, it made me think of like David Blaine, the magician, if you guys know of him. That's why they just pulled that out of nowhere. Oh yeah, David Blaine. But Katt Williams was funny. I mean, but this movie was stupid. It was just quickly made, obviously. It didn't really matter if it was good or not, because all these mainstream like Hollywood stars were in there, and that's all that matters these days. Even back then, I mean, this was only a few years back from now, but even more so, it just seems like the only reason why people go out to see movies is because so-and-so's in there. Not because they're a good actor or actress, just because they're in there and they're popular. Stupid. And then there was this one scene where they were trying out for the part of Swan Lake. Jodie, Ashley Tisdale's character, was trying out. Then they had a black woman trying out. And they made a really stereotypical black woman, what people think a lot of the times about black women, that were cheap, were slutty, that were wild, were exotic and erotic, and will do just anything. So, like, her ballet tryout was just a stripper dance. All of a sudden, a pole showed up when it was time for the black woman to do her audition. A stripper pole showed up, and she started doing a stripper dance, you know, sliding down the pole. They kept focusing on her butt over and over. The instructor